Some battles decide who wins a war. Others decide how history remembers an era. On the morning of June 4, 1942, beneath a sky filled with aircraft and over an ocean stretching endlessly in every direction, 4 Japanese aircraft carriers stood at the height of their power. Their crews believed victory was inevitable. Their commanders believed the United States Navy had already been broken. Within a few short hours, those assumptions would vanish in smoke and fire, and the course of World War II would change forever. Only 6 months earlier, the Empire of Japan had stunned the world with its surprise attack on Pearl Harbor. In less than 2 hours, battleships burned, thousands of American sailors lost their lives, and the Pacific Fleet suffered a devastating blow. Across Asia and the Pacific, Japanese forces advanced with astonishing speed, capturing the Philippines, Malaya, Hong Kong, Singapore, and the Dutch East Indies. To many observers, Japan appeared unstoppable. Its navy possessed some of the finest aircraft carriers in the world, flown by highly trained aviators whose experience had been earned through years of relentless combat. Yet behind this remarkable success lay a dangerous reality. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, the architect of Pearl Harbor, understood that Japan could not outproduce the United States in a prolonged war. America possessed unmatched industrial strength, capable of building ships, aircraft, and weapons on a scale Japan could never equal. Yamamoto believed Japan needed one decisive victory before American factories could fully awaken. Destroy the remaining U.S. aircraft carriers, force the Americans to negotiate peace, and Japan might secure its empire before the balance of power shifted. His chosen battlefield was a tiny coral atoll known as Midway. At first glance, Midway hardly seemed worth fighting over. Isolated in the vast Pacific, it was little more than a small airfield surrounded by endless ocean. But its location made it strategically priceless. It served as America's forward outpost protecting Hawaii and offered reconnaissance aircraft a vital base from which to monitor Japanese movements. If Midway fell, Hawaii would once again be exposed, and Japan's defensive perimeter would expand dramatically across the Pacific. Yamamoto assembled an enormous invasion force unlike anything the Pacific had yet witnessed. At its heart sailed 4 fleet carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, and Hiryu, the same elite ships that had helped cripple Pearl Harbor. Supported by battleships, cruisers, destroyers, submarines, and hundreds of aircraft, the fleet represented the very best of Japanese naval power. Confidence ran high. Surprise had delivered victory before, and many believed it would do so again. But far from the open sea, another battle had already begun. Inside a modest intelligence office at Pearl Harbor, American cryptanalysts spent endless hours studying intercepted Japanese radio messages. The code they faced, known as JN-25, remained only partially broken. Most transmissions appeared meaningless, yet every deciphered fragment revealed another clue. Leading the effort was Commander Joseph Rockefort, a brilliant and unconventional intelligence officer who believed patience could become a weapon as powerful as any battleship. The Americans became convinced that Japan's next objective was a location identified only as AF. Many suspected it meant Midway, but suspicion alone could not justify risking America's remaining carriers. Rockefort proposed an ingenious test. Midway would send an uncoded radio message reporting that its freshwater system had failed and the island desperately needed drinking water. The trap worked. Soon afterward, Japanese communications reported that AF is short of water. The mystery had been solved. For the first time in the Pacific War, the United States possessed a priceless advantage. Admiral Chester Nimitz now knew where the Japanese fleet was headed and roughly when it would arrive. Instead of sailing blindly into an ambush, the Americans could prepare one of their own. Neither fleet knew it yet, but destiny was already closing the distance between them. As dawn broke on June 4th, Japanese aircraft roared toward Midway, dropping bombs across the island. Explosions tore through hangars, anti-aircraft batteries answered with thunderous fire, and thick black smoke climbed into the morning sky. Yet amid the chaos came an unexpected report to Admiral Chuchi Nagumo aboard Akagi. The attack had damaged the base, but it had not destroyed it. Another strike would be necessary. That single message set in motion a chain of decisions that would reshape history. Nagumo had anticipated exactly this possibility. A reserve group of aircraft sat below deck armed with torpedoes, ready to strike any American ships that appeared. Believing no enemy fleet was nearby, he ordered those planes rearmed with bombs for a second attack on Midway. Mechanics hurried across crowded hangar decks. Fuel hoses stretched between aircraft. Bombs, torpedoes, and ammunition lay scattered as crews raced against the clock. Then, everything changed. A delayed reconnaissance aircraft finally reported what every Japanese commander feared: an American naval force had been sighted. Nagumo immediately reversed his orders. Bombs had to be unloaded. Torpedoes reattached. Returning aircraft from the first strike needed to land before another attack could be launched. Minutes slipped away in organized chaos. To the outside world, the Japanese fleet remained the most formidable naval force on Earth. But beneath the flight decks, it had become dangerously exposed. While the Japanese struggled to prepare their next strike, Admiral Chester Nimitz had already committed everything. 3 American carriers, Enterprise, Hornet, and the hastily repaired Yorktown, launched every available aircraft toward the enemy. The attack quickly dissolved into confusion. Squadrons became separated. Some pilots lost their bearings over the endless ocean. Others searched until fuel gauges dropped toward empty. The first Americans to find the Japanese fleet were the torpedo squadrons. Flying low across the waves, they faced an almost impossible mission. Japanese Zero fighters dove upon them while anti-aircraft guns filled the sky with exploding shells. One aircraft after another burst into flames or crashed into the sea. Entire squadrons were nearly wiped out without scoring a single torpedo hit. On paper, the attack looked like a disaster. In reality, it changed everything. The relentless assaults dragged Japanese fighters down to sea level, pulling them away from the high altitude where another threat was quietly approaching. Far above the battle, American dive bombers from Enterprise and Yorktown searched desperately through broken clouds. Fuel was running dangerously low, and several pilots feared they had missed the enemy altogether. Then Lieutenant Commander Wade McCluskey noticed the wake of a lone Japanese destroyer speeding north to rejoin the fleet. Trusting instinct over certainty, he followed it. Moments later, the clouds parted. Below lay the Japanese carriers. Their flight decks were crowded with aircraft being refueled and rearmed. Fuel hoses crossed the wooden decks. Bombs and torpedoes waited beside parked aircraft. It was the most vulnerable moment imaginable. The American bombers rolled into their dives. Sirens wailed across the fleet. Lookouts pointed skyward. Ships turned hard to evade. But gravity had already taken over. Bomb after bomb struck home. Within just 5 devastating minutes, Kaga, Akagi, and Soryu erupted into towering infernos. Explosions tore through their hangars as fuel and ammunition ignited. Flames raced from bow to stern, trapping sailors and consuming aircraft before they could even take off. The carriers that had led the attack on Pearl Harbor were now helpless, burning wrecks drifting across the Pacific. Only Hiryu remained. Her surviving air crews launched 2 determined counterattacks that found Yorktown, crippling the American carrier and leaving it dead in the water. For a brief moment, Japan still possessed a chance to strike back. It would be its last. Late that afternoon, American dive bombers located Hiryu. Once again they descended from the clouds. Their bombs smashed through the flight deck, igniting yet another catastrophic fire. By nightfall, all 4 of Japan's frontline fleet carriers had been destroyed or fatally damaged. The balance of naval power in the Pacific had shifted in a single day. The cost was staggering. Japan lost 4 irreplaceable carriers, hundreds of aircraft, and many of its most experienced naval aviators. Ships could eventually be rebuilt, but years of combat experience could not. Every veteran pilot lost at Midway represented skills that no training program could quickly replace. America's losses were painful, but its industrial strength was only beginning to awaken. Shipyards worked around the clock, launching new carriers, aircraft, and supplies faster than Japan could destroy them. From that moment onward, the Imperial Japanese Navy fought an enemy whose resources grew stronger with every passing month. Midway did not end the Pacific War. Fierce battles still lay ahead at Guadalcanal, the Philippine Sea, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa. Yet historians continue to view Midway as the decisive turning point because it ended Japan's strategic initiative forever. The empire that had expanded across the Pacific now fought a defensive war it could never truly win. Today, military academies around the world still study the Battle of Midway, not simply because of the ships that sank, but because of the lessons it revealed. Superior intelligence defeated surprise. Preparation overcame confidence. Adaptability triumphed over rigid planning. And a handful of courageous decisions, made in moments of uncertainty, changed the destiny of nations. History often remembers the great armies, the powerful fleets, and the famous commanders. But Midway reminds us that the future can hinge on something far smaller: a delayed reconnaissance plane, a decoded message, or 5 extraordinary minutes that forever altered the course of the 20th century. The Pacific was still engulfed in war. But after Midway, victory no longer seemed beyond America's reach. It had become only a matter of time.